The alarm screamed in Tai-sung's ears as his cargo ship spun out of control. Red lights flashed across every panel in the cockpit. He gripped the controls with both hands, trying to stabilize the vessel, but nothing worked. The engine was dead. The backup systems were failing one by one. Come on, he muttered, pressing buttons frantically. But it was no use. Through the forward window, he could see a planet growing larger and larger. He was going to crash. Tai-sung was 28 years old and had been flying cargo ships for 6 years. He knew his ship inside and out. He had fixed engines in deep space, navigated through asteroid fields, and once outrun pirates near the Kepler colonies. But this was different. This was systems failure on every level. The planet below was not on his maps. He had taken a shortcut through an unmapped nebula to avoid the main shipping lanes where pirates hunted. Now he was paying the price for that decision. The ship hit the atmosphere with a bone-rattling shake. Fire engulfed the hull as friction heated the metal to dangerous levels. Tai-sung strapped himself tighter into his seat and braced for impact. The last thing he saw before everything went black was a forest of strange silver trees rushing up to meet him. When Tai-sung opened his eyes, everything hurt. His head throbbed. His ribs ached with every breath. He was lying on something soft, but it was not his ship's emergency cot. Slowly, he turned his head and nearly gasped. 3 faces looked down at him. 3 female faces. But they were not human. Their skin was pale and seemed to glow with a soft silver light. Their eyes were larger than human eyes, with vertical pupils like a cat. They had hair, but it moved slightly as if underwater, flowing in an invisible current. They wore clothes made of material that looked like liquid metal. One of them leaned closer. She had sharp features and looked at him with cold, analytical eyes. "He is awake," she said. But Tai-sung did not understand her language. The sounds were musical, like wind chimes mixed with whispers. Another one, with gentler features and warmer eyes, reached out to touch his forehead. Her hand was cool against his skin. She said something in that same musical language, and her tone sounded concerned. The third one stood back with her arms crossed. She wore what looked like armor made of dark crystal. Her expression was suspicious, and her hand rested on a weapon at her belt. Tai-sung tried to sit up, but pain shot through his chest. The gentle one pushed him back down with surprising strength. She shook her head and said something that clearly meant, "Stay down." For 3 days, Tai-sung drifted in and out of consciousness. The gentle one, who he later learned was named Yuna, treated his injuries with strange glowing tools and liquids that tasted like mint. The analytical one, Hana, studied him constantly, scanning him with devices and taking notes. The warrior Nari watched him like he might explode at any moment. During his moments of clarity, Tai-sung looked around the room. It was like nothing he had seen before. The walls curved organically, as if grown rather than built. Light came from the ceiling itself, which pulsed gently like a heartbeat. There were no sharp corners anywhere. Everything flowed into everything else. On the 4th day, Tai-sung woke feeling much better. Yuna helped him sit up and offered him something to drink. It was sweet and made him feel energized. She smiled at him, and he noticed she had no teeth like humans. Her mouth was smooth inside, adapted for a different kind of diet. Hana entered the room carrying a small device. She held it up and spoke into it. The device made buzzing sounds, then spoke in accented but understandable English. "We have learned your language from your ship computer. Can you understand me?" Tai-sung's eyes widened. Yes, I can understand you."
"Where am I?"
"What planet is this?" Hana's expression remained neutral. "You are on our world. We do not give its name to outsiders. I'm Hana, this is Yuna, who healed you. And that is Nari, who guards you." "Guards me? Am I a prisoner?" "That has not been decided yet," Hana replied. "First you must meet the council. They will determine what to do with you." Tai-sung looked at each of them. "Thank you for saving my life. My name is Tai-sung. I'm human from Earth. My ship crashed. I did not mean to come here. If you can just help me repair my ship, I will leave and never bother you again." Something passed between the 3 alien women, a look that made Tai-sung's stomach tighten with worry. "We will see what the council says," Hana said finally. 2 days later, Tai-sung was strong enough to walk. Nari led him through corridors of the same organic architecture. Other alien women stopped to stare at him as he passed. They whispered to each other and pointed. Some looked curious. Others looked afraid. They emerged into a massive chamber that took Tai-sung's breath away. It was carved into a cliff of crystal that caught the light and split it into rainbows. Hundreds of the alien women sat in curved rows, all facing a central platform where 5 figures sat in chairs that seemed to grow from the floor. The central figure stood. She was tall and regal, with silver hair that flowed down to her waist. Her skin glowed brighter than the others, and her eyes held the weight of authority. She spoke, and the translator device on Tae-sung's wrist buzzed to life. "I am Ji-won, High Arbiter of the Valerian people. You are the first male creature to set foot on our world in 800 years. Your presence creates a situation we have not faced in generations." Tae-sung bowed respectfully. "Honored Arbiter, I crashed here by accident. I mean no harm to your people. I am grateful for the care I have received. If you help me repair my ship, I will leave immediately." Ji-won's expression did not change. "That is not possible. There are laws that have protected our people for centuries. Once a male is discovered on our world, he cannot leave." The words hit Tae-sung like a physical blow. "What, you cannot be serious? I have a family back home. I have a life. You cannot just keep me here." Another council member stood. She was older, with harder features. "We can and we will. Our laws exist for good reasons, human. Your presence threatens the stability of our entire species." "How?" Tae-sung demanded. "I am just one person." Ji-won raised a hand for silence. "You deserve an explanation. 800 years ago, all the males of our species died from a genetic plague. It targeted only males, killing them within a generation. We survived by developing advanced cloning and genetic manipulation. We became a single-gender society. We adapted. We thrived." She paused, and her expression softened slightly. "But we also became careful. Too careful, perhaps. We have hidden our world from galactic maps. We have avoided contact with other species. And we created the Preservation Edict, which states that no male of any species can leave our planet once discovered. The risk to our carefully controlled genetics is too great." Tae-sung felt panic rising in his chest. "But I have not done anything. You cannot imprison me for just existing." "You are not a prisoner," Ji-won said. "You are a permanent guest. You will be given a home, a purpose, and respect. But you cannot leave. Your ship will be dismantled to ensure no tracking signal escapes. This is not cruelty, human. This is survival. This is insane," Tae-sung shouted. The guards moved toward him, but Ji-won waved them back. "You may think so now," she said calmly, "but in time you will understand. You will make a life here. Many of our people are already fascinated by you. You will not be alone or unhappy. But I will not be free," Tae-sung said quietly. Ji-won looked at him for a long moment. Something like sadness flickered in her alien eyes. "No," she admitted. "You will not be free. But you will be alive, and you will be safe. That is more than your crash should have given you." The council dismissed him. As Nari led him away, Tae-sung looked back at the assembled Valerians. Hundreds of alien women all staring at him, not with hatred but with curiosity and something else, something that might have been loneliness. He realized with a chill that they had not seen a male in 8 centuries. He was not just a person to them. He was a reminder of something they had lost, and they were never going to let him go. Tae-sung stood at the window of his new quarters and looked out at the alien city. They called it Silver Mist, and it was beautiful in a way that hurt to look at. The buildings grew from the ground like giant crystals, connected by bridges that seemed to be made of solidified light. Forests of silver trees surrounded the city, and in the distance 3 moons hung in a purple sky. It was beautiful. It was also a prison. 3 weeks had passed since the council's decision. Tae-sung had been given rooms in a tower near the city center. The rooms were comfortable, even luxurious, but the door had a guard. He could walk through certain parts of the city, but always with an escort. He was fed, clothed, and treated with respect. But he was not free. A chime sounded at his door. Tae-sung turned as a Valerian woman entered. He recognized her immediately. She was younger than most he had seen, with bright, curious eyes and a quick smile. "Good morning, Tae-sung," she said in English. Her accent was getting better. "I am Soo-jin. I have been assigned as your cultural liaison." "You mean my babysitter," Tae-sung said, but without real anger. He was getting tired of being angry all the time. Soo-jin's smile did not fade. "I prefer to think of myself as a bridge between our peoples. I studied xenobiology and alien cultures. You are the most interesting thing that has happened to me in my entire life." Despite himself, Tae-sung almost smiled. "I am glad my imprisonment entertains you." "You are not imprisoned," Soo-jin said, sitting down without being invited. You are protected. From what? From yourself. From making a mistake that could harm our people. And also, she added more quietly, protected from some of our people who fear you. That got Taesung's attention. Fear me? Why? Sujin pulled out a tablet-like device. May I show you something? It might help you understand. When Taesung nodded, she activated the device. Images appeared in the air between them, holographic and clear. This is our history, she began. 823 years ago, our world was different. We had males and females like your species. We had families in the way you understand them. But then the plague came. The images showed Valerian males, similar to the females but with broader shoulders and different facial features. Then the images showed them dying. Thousands upon thousands until none remained. We almost went extinct, Sujin continued. Only 40,000 females survived. But we were scientists, engineers, and thinkers. We developed cloning technology. We learned to manipulate our own genetics. We survived. That is impressive, Taesung admitted. But I still do not see why that means I cannot leave. Sujin changed the images. Now they showed complex genetic structures. Our entire species now exists on carefully controlled genetic patterns. Every Valerian alive today is a clone or a genetic combination of those original 40,000 survivors. We have eliminated genetic diseases, optimized our health, and extended our lifespans. But we have also eliminated diversity. She looked at him directly. Your presence, your male biology, your unknown genetic material. It represents a variable we cannot control. Some of our leaders fear that even your presence might somehow affect our genetics. Others fear what contact with males might do to our culture. That is ridiculous, Taesung said. I am not contagious. I am not trying to change your culture. I just want to go home. I know, Sujin said softly, and I am sorry. But you must understand, fear is not always logical. We have built a society without males for 8 centuries. Some of us do not even believe males are necessary. Others are curious but frightened. And a few, she added with a slight smile, are very interested in you. Over the following weeks, Sujin became Taesung's guide to Valerian society. She took him through the city, explained their customs, and translated when his device failed. Despite his situation, Taesung found himself fascinated. The Valerians had developed technology that seemed like magic to him. They could manipulate energy with their minds through neural implants. They had cured almost every disease. Their buildings were alive in a sense, responding to the needs of inhabitants. They had no crime, no poverty, and no war. But they also had no change. No growth, no real conflict. Do you not get bored? Taesung asked Sujin one day as they walked through a garden where flowers hummed with musical tones. Bored? She seemed confused by the concept. Nothing ever changes here. Everyone agrees on everything. There is no competition, no struggle. How do you improve? Sujin thought about this for a long time. We improve through careful study and collective decision-making. Conflict is inefficient. Why would we want struggle? Because struggle makes you stronger, Taesung said. On Earth we have a saying, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor. You learn by facing challenges, by failing and trying again. That sounds exhausting, Sujin said, but she looked thoughtful. One afternoon, Hana visited Taesung's quarters. She had been studying him constantly since his arrival, scanning him with medical devices and taking samples of his blood. He was getting tired of being treated like a laboratory animal. I have something to tell you, Hana said, sitting down across from him. Something I should not tell you, but I believe you deserve to know. Taesung leaned forward. What is it? Your biology is fascinating. Human males are physically stronger than Valerian females by a significant margin. Your muscle density is much higher. Your bone structure is more robust. Your immune system fights pathogens differently than ours. So yesterday, there was an outbreak of crimson fever in the northern district. It is a disease that affects Valerians severely. 30 people were hospitalized. You were in that district the same day and you showed no symptoms. I tested your blood. You fought off the disease without even knowing you were exposed. Taesung shrugged. Human immune systems are pretty good. We evolved on a planet with lots of diseases. Yes, Hana said, and her eyes showed something like wonder. You evolved. We did not. Not anymore. We control our genetics so carefully that we have stopped adapting. We have optimized ourselves into stagnation. She leaned closer and lowered her voice. There is a group of Valerians who believe our species is dying slowly. They call themselves the Renewal Circle. They think the Preservation Edict is killing us, not saving us. Are you part of this group? Taesung asked. Hana hesitated, then nodded. I am, and we want to help you. But you must be patient. The council will not change the law quickly. We need to show them that you are not a threat. We need to show them that humans, that males, have value. Before Taesung could respond, alarms sounded throughout the city. Hana's communicator buzzed frantically. She checked it and her face went pale. What is wrong? Taesung asked. The crystal tower in the western district. Something has failed. The structure is collapsing. They ran to the window. In the distance, one of the beautiful crystal towers was leaning at a dangerous angle. Valerians were fleeing from the building, but Taesung could see some were trapped on the upper levels. We must go, Hana said. But Taesung was already running for the door. His guards tried to stop him, but he pushed past them. He was faster and stronger than they expected. He ran through the streets toward the collapsing tower, with Hana and Sujin chasing behind him. When he reached the tower, chaos surrounded him. Valerian emergency responders were trying to help, but they moved slowly, carefully analyzing the situation. On the 5th level, Taesung could see an elderly Valerian trapped behind a collapsed beam. Someone must get her, Sujin shouted. The structure is too unstable, a responder said. We need to calculate the safe approach. There is no time for calculations, Taesung shouted. He ran into the building before anyone could stop him. The inside of the tower was a maze of collapsed crystal and twisted metal. Taesung climbed over debris, his human muscles powering him upward faster than the Valerians expected. He reached the 5th level and found the elderly Valerian woman. A crystal beam had fallen across her legs. She looked at him with wide, frightened eyes. She had probably never seen a male before. It is okay, Taesung said gently. I am going to get you out. He grabbed the beam. It was heavy, far heavier than it looked. A Valerian would not have been able to lift it. But Taesung had human muscles, built by evolution for heavy labor and survival. He lifted. The beam rose. The woman scrambled free. Taesung guided her to the stairs, and they made it out just as another section of the tower collapsed behind them. Outside, a crowd had gathered. Hundreds of Valerians watched as Taesung emerged carrying the elderly woman. He set her down gently, and Yuna rushed forward to check her injuries. The crowd was silent. Then slowly they began to make a sound. It was not clapping. Valerians did not applaud. Instead they hummed, a rising musical tone that resonated in Taesung's chest. It was their way of showing approval. High Arbiter Ji-won stood at the edge of the crowd. She looked at Taesung for a long moment. Then she nodded slightly, acknowledging what he had done. That night, Taesung stood at his window again. The damaged tower was being repaired already, Valerian technology working its magic. But something had changed. He could feel it. Sujin visited him late that evening. You saved me high today, she said. The elderly woman. She is on the council. You saved a council member's life. I just did what anyone would do, Taesung said. No, Sujin replied. 4 months had passed since Taesung crashed on the Valerian world. In that time, his presence had created ripples that were turning into waves. Young Valerians gathered outside his quarters just to catch a glimpse of him. Scholars requested meetings to ask him questions about human culture. Children stared at him with open curiosity whenever he walked through the city. But not everyone was happy about the changes he brought. Taesung sat in a small gathering room with Yuna, who had become something close to a friend. She was showing him images on her holographic display, but her hands shook slightly as she activated it. You should not be showing me this, Taesung said, recognizing the nervousness in her body language. No, I should not, Yuna agreed, but you deserve to know the truth. I have been studying your genetics for months now. I have compared your DNA to ours, and I have found something extraordinary. The images showed complex genetic structures that Taesung did not fully understand, but Yuna explained it in simple terms. When the plague killed our males, it left genetic scars in our DNA. We thought we had fixed everything through cloning and genetic manipulation, but we were wrong. Each generation we lose a little more genetic diversity. In another 1,000 years, maybe less, we will have cloned ourselves into extinction. Taesung felt a chill. Are you saying your species is dying? Slowly, yes. But here's the important part. Yuna pulled up another image. Human male DNA contains sequences that could revitalize our genetics. The plague that killed our males was species-specific. It cannot affect humans. Your genetic material could give us back what we lost without the disease. You are talking about reproduction, Tae-sung said carefully. Yuna's luminescent skin darkened slightly, which Tae-sung had learned was their version of a blush. Not necessarily in the traditional way. We have technology for genetic combination. But yes, essentially, you could save our species, Tae-sung. Does the council know this? Yuna's expression became guarded. Some do. Others refuse to listen. High Enforcer Dayun has declared that any research into combining human and Valerian genetics is forbidden. She says it violates the fundamental principles of our society. Let me guess, Tae-sung said. She is the one who wanted to keep me locked up even tighter than I already am. Yes, she believes males bring chaos and violence. She has been showing the council videos from Earth's history, wars, crimes, conflicts. She argues that allowing your genetics into our population would bring that violence here. Tae-sung felt anger rising. That is not fair. Yes, humans have fought wars, but we have also created art, music, science. We have love and compassion and courage. You cannot just show the bad parts. I know, Yuna said softly, and some of us are trying to show the council the whole picture. But Daun is very influential. She has been working to turn opinion against you. As if summoned by speaking her name, an alarm sounded in Tae-sung's quarters. Moments later, Nari burst through the door, her weapon drawn. Come with me. Now, she commanded. What is happening? There has been an accident in the technology district. Equipment failure. They are saying you sabotaged it. Tae-sung's blood ran cold. I have been here the entire day. Yuna can confirm it. It does not matter what I say, Yuna said, standing quickly. If Daun has decided you are responsible, she will find a way to prove it. They took Tae-sung to the council chambers. The 5 council members sat in their places, but the atmosphere was different than his first visit. Colder, more hostile. Dayun stood at the front and her expression was one of barely controlled anger. Human, she said, her voice sharp. You were seen near the processing facility yesterday. Today that facility experienced a catastrophic failure. 3 Valerians were injured. Our investigation shows signs of tampering. I did not tamper with anything, Tae-sung said firmly. I do not even understand your technology well enough to sabotage it. Perhaps not consciously, Daun replied. But your presence alone is disruptive. Your male aggression, your human impulsiveness. You bring chaos wherever you go. High Arbiter Ji-won raised a hand. Dayun, these are serious accusations. Do you have proof? I have evidence of tampering. I have evidence the human was nearby. That is enough for concern. That is not enough for punishment, said another council member, a younger Valerian named Yoonji. We cannot condemn someone based on proximity alone. The debate continued for over an hour. Tae-sung stood silently, watching the council argue about his fate. Finally, Ji-won called for a recess. In a private room, Hana found Tae-sung. This is a setup, she said bluntly. The Renewal Circle has been investigating. We believe Daun sabotaged the equipment herself to frame you. Why would she do that? Because you are winning, Hana said. After you saved Mihai from the collapsing tower, public opinion shifted. People are questioning the preservation edict. They are asking why we fear males so much. Dayun needs to remind everyone that males are dangerous. Tae-sung slammed his fist against the wall in frustration. The impact cracked the crystal surface and he immediately regretted it. More evidence that he was violent and destructive. But Hana looked at the cracked wall with interest. How much force did you use? I do not know. I was just angry. Why? Because that wall is reinforced crystal. A Valerian could not crack it with their bare hands. You just proved you are stronger than us without even trying. She smiled slightly. That might actually help us. That evening, Tae-sung made a decision. He could not keep living like this, trapped and accused, waiting for the Valerians to decide his fate. He needed to take action. He made his way to the storage facility where his crashed ship was being kept. The guards knew him by now, and his status as a permanent guest gave him some freedom to move around. They let him pass without question. The ship was in worse condition than he remembered, but the core systems were intact. With the right parts and enough time, he might be able to repair it. He might be able to escape. You are thinking about leaving. Tae-sung spun around. Hana stood in the doorway, her arms crossed. How did you know I would be here? Because I would do the same thing in your position. She walked around the ship, examining it with a professional eye. It can be repaired. With Valerian power cells and some of our navigation technology, you could make it space-worthy again. You are going to report me. No, Hana said quietly. I am going to help you. Taesung stared at her. Why? Because you were right. Our species is dying slowly. We have chosen safety over life, control over growth. You could save us, but not by force. Not by being kept here against your will. She moved closer. I have been thinking about freedom a lot lately. We Valerians do not really understand it. We have security, comfort, purpose, but not freedom. You have taught me that those things are not the same. If you help me escape, you will be punished. Perhaps, but some things are worth the risk. She pulled out a small device. This contains the access codes for the parts you need, but I want you to promise me something or what? Do not leave yet. Give me time to present Yuna's research to the council properly. Give us a chance to change their minds the right way. If we fail, then you escape. But try with us first. Taesung considered this. Part of him wanted to refuse to work on the ship immediately and leave as soon as possible, but another part recognized that Hana was right. Running away would not solve anything. It would only confirm Daun's fears that males brought chaos. How much time? He asked. 2 weeks. I am organizing a presentation for the full council. Yuna will show her research. Sujin will present cultural evidence that males are not inherently violent, and I will argue that the preservation edict is killing us slowly. And if Daun blocks you, then you run, Hana said simply. And I will help you. The 2 weeks that followed were the most tense of Taesung's time on the Valerian world. He could feel the tension building throughout the city. Valerians who supported him began wearing blue ribbons, a symbol of the renewal circle. Those who feared him wore red, showing their loyalty to tradition and the edict. The city was dividing. Daun did not remain idle. She gave speeches about the dangers of change, about the importance of preserving Valerian purity. She brought in historians who showed images of wars from other species that had males. She presented statistics about violence and crime on mixed-gender worlds. But the renewal circle fought back. They showed Taesung's rescue of Mihai on repeat. They interviewed Valerians who had spoken with Taesung and found him thoughtful and kind. They presented evidence that single-gender species across the galaxy had higher rates of stagnation and extinction. Finally, the day of the council presentation arrived. The main chamber was packed with Valerians. Taesung stood at the back, watching as Yuna, Hana, and Sujin took the floor. Yuna presented her genetic research with clear, undeniable data. The Valerian species was experiencing genetic decay. Without new diversity, they had perhaps 1,000 years before critical systems began to fail. Sujin showed cultural examples from across the galaxy. Single-gender species that had thrived by accepting diversity. Mixed-gender species that had overcome their violent past to build peaceful civilizations. Hana made the final argument. We have lived in fear for 800 years. Fear of the plague returning. Fear of males. Fear of change. But fear is not the same as wisdom. Jiwon looked at Taesung for a long moment, then at Daun, then at the assembled crowd. This matter requires more consideration than we can give in one meeting. The council will deliberate and announce our decision in 3 days. But they never got the chance. That night, as Taesung lay in his quarters unable to sleep, the city's alarms began to scream. Not the simple chimes of a minor emergency, but a deep pulsing wail that made his bones vibrate. He rushed to the window and saw Valerians streaming into the streets, their faces illuminated by emergency lights that had turned from soft white to harsh red. Hana burst through his door without knocking. Come with me, now. What is happening? Solar flare. Massive one. It disrupted the planetary magnetic shield generators. If they fail completely, radiation will sterilize the surface in 2 days. Taesung felt his stomach drop. Can you fix them? Hana's expression was grim. We do not know. These generators were built by our ancestors over 1,000 years ago. Modern Valerians have only maintained them, never repaired them. We have forgotten how they truly work. They ran through the streets to the council chambers. Jiwon was already there, along with Daun and the other council members. Dozens of technicians worked frantically at control panels, but Taesung could see the panic in their movements. Status, Jiwon demanded. A technician looked up, her face pale. The primary generator has shut down completely. The secondary is running at 40% capacity and falling. We have tried every standard protocol, but nothing works. These systems are too old. The documentation we have is incomplete. How long do we have? Asked Yunji. At current degradation rates, 48 hours before radiation reaches lethal levels. The chamber went silent. 48 hours to save an entire species. Tae-sung stepped forward. Let me see the system specifications. Daun whirled on him. This is not your concern, human. This is Valerian technology. It is not just Valerian, Tae-sung said, studying the holographic displays. These designs are based on fusion magnetic field principles. My people use similar technology. Different design, same basic physics. You are a cargo pilot, not an engineer, Dayan said. I am a cargo pilot who has repaired his own ship dozens of times in deep space. I may not be an engineer, but I understand how things work, and I can see what your technicians cannot. What do you see? Ji-won asked. Tae-sung pointed to the schematics. You are treating this like a computer malfunction. You are trying to reset the software, run diagnostics, but this is not a software problem. These generators are physical machines. Something has broken or jammed. You need to go to the facility and fix it manually. The head technician shook her head. The primary generator facility is in the deep core. It has been sealed for centuries. The radiation levels there are already elevated from the solar flare. A Valerian would die within minutes in that environment. But a human might not, Yuna said quietly. She had appeared in the doorway. Human cellular regeneration is faster than ours. Your resistance to radiation is higher. You might survive long enough to make repairs. Dayun's voice was sharp. You cannot seriously be suggesting we risk our entire civilization on this human's abilities. What choice do we have? Yunji asked. If we do nothing, we all die anyway. Ji-won looked at Tae-sung. If you attempt this, you will likely die. The radiation alone could kill you. And even if you survive that, the machinery is ancient and dangerous. Why would you risk your life for a people who have imprisoned you? Tae-sung thought about that question. He thought about Earth so far away. He thought about the months of captivity. He thought about Dayun's accusations and the preservation edict that had stolen his freedom. But he also thought about Yuna's kindness, Hana's courage, and Sujin's friendship. He thought about the elderly Mihai, who he had saved from the collapsing tower. He thought about the young Valerians who gathered outside his quarters, curious and hopeful. Because it is the right thing to do, he said simply. And because maybe if I save your world, you will finally understand that humans are not your enemy. Within an hour, a team was assembled. Hana insisted on coming despite the danger. Yuna joined them with medical equipment. Nari came as well, her warrior instincts demanding she protect her people, and Sujin volunteered, saying that someone needed to document what happened for history. They descended into the planet's crust in a transport vehicle that had not been used in generations. The deeper they went, the hotter it became. Tae-sung felt sweat running down his back, but the Valerians looked worse. Their luminescent skin had dimmed and they moved sluggishly in the heat. Humans evolved on a hotter planet than ours, Yuna observed, scanning him with a medical device. Your tolerance for extreme temperatures is higher. After 2 hours of descent, they reached the generator facility. It was massive, a cavern carved from solid rock and filled with machinery that hummed with barely contained power. The secondary generator glowed with dangerous energy, while the primary sat dark and silent. Radiation levels are already at dangerous levels, Hana said, checking her instruments. We have maybe an hour before we must leave, or we will not survive the return journey. Tae-sung approached the primary generator. It was the size of a building, covered in alien symbols and designs he did not recognize. But underneath the strange aesthetics, he could see the familiar patterns of magnetic coils, fusion chambers, and power regulators. There, he said, pointing. The magnetic containment has collapsed. See how the field lines are distorted? That is why the generator shut down. It went into emergency lockdown to prevent a meltdown. Can you fix it? Nari asked. Maybe, but I need to access the internal chamber to restart the magnetic alignment. Hana pulled up a schematic on her device. The access tunnel requires manual entry. There is a crawl space that leads to the core, but the radiation levels inside are triple what they are out here. A Valerian could not survive it, Yuna said. Even a few minutes of exposure would be fatal. Tae-sung studied the tunnel entrance. It was narrow, barely wide enough for a person to squeeze through. How long would I need to be inside? To restart the magnetic alignment? 3 to 4 minutes, assuming you know what you are doing. I know what I am doing. Taesung removed his jacket and prepared to enter the tunnel. His hands were steady, but his heart pounded. 3 minutes of lethal radiation. He might survive it. He might not. Yuna grabbed his arm. Your cellular regeneration is better than ours, but this could still kill you. Even if you survive the exposure, the radiation damage could cause cancer, organ failure, or genetic damage. If I do nothing, everyone dies, Taesung said. That is not a choice. That is just me being a coward. Hana stepped closer. Her eyes, so alien and yet so expressive, showed something Taesung had learned to recognize as emotion. Why are you doing this? You owe us nothing. We have kept you prisoner. You saved my life after the crash, Taesung replied. You could have let me die. You could have killed me as a threat, but you chose kindness instead. Maybe you chose it for the wrong reasons, out of fear instead of compassion, but you still chose it. Now I am choosing to save you. He entered the tunnel before anyone could stop him. The heat was intense immediately. The tunnel walls glowed with residual energy. Taesung crawled forward, his muscles protesting in the confined space. Through his communicator, he could hear Hana guiding him. 30 meters ahead, you will see a junction. Take the left path. Taesung's skin was burning. He could feel the radiation like invisible fire, cooking him from the inside. But he kept moving. You are approaching the core chamber. The manual restart controls are on the southern wall. Taesung pulled himself into the chamber. It was small, cramped, and glowing with dangerous energy. The controls Hana had described were there, covered in dust and ancient symbols. Talk me through it, he said, his voice rough. Hana's instructions came fast and clear. Taesung's hands moved over the controls, activating systems that had not been touched in centuries. His vision was starting to blur. His hand shook. Final sequence, Hana said. Pull the 3 levers simultaneously. Red, blue, then green. Taesung grabbed the levers. They were stiff, reluctant to move. He pulled with all his strength, feeling something tear in his shoulder. The levers moved. The generator roared to life. Through the tunnel, Taesung could see the massive machinery beginning to spin. Energy crackled through the chamber. The magnetic fields realigned with a sound like thunder. It is working, Hana shouted. Get out of there now. Taesung turned to crawl back, but his body was not responding properly. His arms felt weak. His vision was darkening at the edges. I do not think I can make it, he said quietly. Yes, you can. Nari's voice came through the communicator. You are human. You are stubborn and strong and too stupid to quit. Move, Taesung laughed despite the pain. He started crawling. Every meter was agony. His skin felt like it was on fire. His lungs burned with every breath, but he kept moving. Behind him, through the communicator, he could hear the team encouraging him. Hana's voice, steady and strong. Yuna's voice, worried but determined. Sujin's voice, telling him about the story she would write about his courage. Nari's voice, barking orders like a drill sergeant. He reached the tunnel exit and collapsed into Hana's arms. The generators? He managed to ask. 2 weeks after saving the generators, Taesung stood on a balcony overlooking Silver Mist. His body had healed remarkably well, though Yuna said he would carry scars from the radiation burns for the rest of his life. He did not mind. They were proof that he had done something that mattered. Behind him, he heard footsteps. Hana joined him at the railing. Since the generator crisis, something had changed between them. The way she looked at him was different, softer, more personal. The council meets tomorrow, she said. They will announce their decision about the preservation edict. Will they abolish it? Hana was quiet for a moment. I do not know. You have changed many minds, but Da-eun and her supporters are still strong. They argue that one good act does not erase the potential danger you represent. After I nearly died to save them, they still think I am dangerous? Fear is not logical, Hana said. She moved closer to him. I have been researching something. In species that have 2 genders, there are certain behaviors between males and females, bonding behaviors. I think I have been experiencing them with you. Taesung turned to look at her. Hana, are you saying what I think you are saying? Her luminescent skin darkened in that way that meant she was embarrassed. I do not have the right words. My people have not needed these words for 800 years, but when I thought you might die in that generator core, I felt something I had never felt before, fear of loss. Not loss of a team member or a colleague, but loss of you specifically, as an individual, as someone who matters to me in a way no one else does. On Earth we would call that love, Taesung said gently. Love, Hana repeated, testing the word. Yes, I think that is what this is. Before Tae-sung could respond, alarms rang out across the city. But these were not emergency alarms. They were announcement chimes. The council is calling for an immediate gathering, Hana said, checking her communicator. Something has happened. They rushed to the main square where thousands of Valerians were already assembling. The massive holographic displays that normally showed peaceful images of nature now displayed Ji-won's face. Citizens of our world, she began. I have extraordinary news. 1 hour ago, we received a transmission from space. A human ship has entered our system. Tae-sung's heart nearly stopped. A human ship. After all this time, Ji-won continued. They are responding to an emergency beacon from Tae-sung's crashed vessel. They have come to rescue him. She paused. They have also sent a message of peaceful greeting to our people. They request permission to land and establish diplomatic contact. The square erupted in noise. Some Valerians cheered. Others looked frightened. Arguments broke out immediately. Daun appeared on the display next to Ji-won. This is exactly what I warned about. One human brings more humans. Soon they will swarm our world, destroy our culture, and corrupt our genetics. Or, said Yoonji, appearing on the other side, they will bring the diversity and renewal we desperately need. Tae-sung proved that humans can be trusted. We should welcome his people. Ji-won raised her hand for silence. The council is divided. Therefore, we are doing something unprecedented. We are calling for a planetary referendum. Every adult Valerian will vote on 2 questions. First, do we abolish the Preservation Edict? Second, do we allow the human ship to land and begin diplomatic relations? When do we vote? Someone in the crowd shouted. Voting begins now and will remain open for 48 hours. Choose wisely, my people. The future of our species depends on this decision. The next 2 days were chaos. Silver Mist divided into 2 camps. The blue ribbons of the renewal circle were everywhere, but so were the red ribbons of the traditionalists. Debates raged in every public space. Tae-sung found himself at the center of attention, with Valerians constantly asking him questions about Earth, about humans, about what would happen if they opened their world to the galaxy. He tried to be honest. My people are not perfect, he told them. We have fought wars. We have made mistakes. But we have also learned and grown. We have built a society based on cooperation between genders, between cultures, between different ways of thinking. Yes, opening your world will bring change. But change is not death. It is life. On the morning of the second day, Mi-sun, the leader of the Renewal Circle, organized a massive gathering in the central square. Thousands of Valerians came to hear her speak. For 800 years, she began, we have lived in fear. Fear of the plague returning, fear of males, fear of anything different from ourselves. We have built a beautiful cage and called it paradise. But this human showed us the bars we could not see. She gestured to Tae-sung, who stood uncomfortably in the crowd. He did not ask to come here. He crashed on our world by accident. We imprisoned him, not for anything he did, but for what he represented. And how did he respond? By saving an elder from a collapsing tower, by risking his life to repair our generators, by showing us through his actions what we have been missing. He showed us courage, Mi-sun continued. Not the absence of fear, but acting despite fear. He showed us sacrifice, putting others before himself. He showed us that strength can be gentle, that power can be kind. These are not exclusively male traits. These are traits any being can have, but we forgot them because we eliminated half of what we were. The crowd was silent, listening. I am voting yes, Mi-sun declared. Yes to abolishing the edict. Yes to welcoming the humans. Yes to taking the risk of being alive again instead of just existing. Who will vote with me? Thousands of voices rose in answer, a humming chorus that shook the buildings. But not everyone was convinced. That afternoon, Daun held her own gathering. Her supporters filled a different square, listening as she made her case. Mi-sun speaks of courage, but I see recklessness, Daun said. She speaks of life, but I see danger. This human may have saved us from the solar flare. But who caused the problem in the first place? These old systems failed because we stopped maintaining them. We stopped because we had no need. Our controlled, peaceful society had no use for the ancient machines of our more chaotic past, she pointed dramatically. Now this human has reactivated those machines. He has reminded us of chaos, of risk, of the unpredictability we worked so hard to eliminate. And you want to bring more of them here? You want to introduce their genetics, their culture, their chaos into our perfect order? It is not perfect, a voice shouted from the crowd. Taesung was surprised to see it was Nari, the warrior who had guarded him. I have spent months watching this human. I was trained to see threats, but all I saw was someone who kept choosing to help us even when we did not deserve his help. Dayun's expression hardened. You have been corrupted by exposure to him. No, Nari said firmly. I have been educated. There is a difference. The debate raged on, but Taesung slipped away. He needed to think. He found himself at the storage facility where his ship still sat. Hana was there, as he somehow knew she would be. She had been coming here often, he had learned, studying his ship, understanding his technology. They might vote no, Hana said without looking at him. The traditionalists are strong. Dayun is very persuasive. I know. If they vote no, will you still try to escape? Your ship is almost repaired. Taesung looked at the battered vessel that had been his prison's key and his hope for freedom. I do not know. A month ago, I would have said yes without hesitation. But now, he trailed off. Now what? Now I understand why you are afraid. Opening your world will change it forever. You cannot predict what will happen. Maybe humans and Valerians will create something beautiful together. Or maybe it will be a disaster. There are no guarantees. Hana finally turned to look at him. But that is what life is it not? My people have spent 8 centuries trying to eliminate uncertainty. We have controlled every variable, predicted every outcome, and we have created a stagnant, dying society. You have taught me that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is accept that you cannot control everything. The voting deadline arrived at sunset on the second day. Every Valerian had cast their vote. Now they waited for the results. Taesung stood in the council chambers with Hana, Yuna, Sujin, and Nari. They had become his family in this alien world. These women who had transformed from captors to friends. Even Mihai was there, the elderly council member, walking with a cane but insisting on being present for this historic moment. Jiwon stood at the center of the chamber. Her face was grave as she activated the holographic display showing the results. The votes have been counted, she announced, on the question of abolishing the Preservation Edict. The results are 67% in favor, 33% against. The chamber erupted in celebration and dismay, depending on which side people supported. Jiwon waited for silence. On the question of allowing the human ship to land and beginning diplomatic relations, the results are 64% in favor, 36% against. More cheers, more protests. Dayun stood, her face twisted with anger. I do not accept this result. The vote was influenced by emotion, by the spectacle of one human's actions. This is not a rational decision. It is a democratic decision, Jiwon said firmly. You may not agree with it, but you must accept it. The people have spoken. Then the people are fools, Dayun shouted. You are inviting destruction into our world. No, said a quiet voice.